And what my question is, it's about snow. And I'm wondering why that you're not able to bring your plow closer to the boulevards on any road. And when after the owners of a house like me clean the boulevard part that we have to clean, which is really the town, you guys come along and put 18 inches of snow right back at us. And I wonder why.
Thank you very much for the question. It's unfortunately one of those questions you're always going to get in Northern Ontario. We had this discussion about 6 years ago. And if I remember the premise of your question, you had asked whether or not the city of Elliot Lake could actually clean the driveway, which the actual snow was actually plowed, and I explained to you the cost of that would be absorbed. What I do want to say, though, is our city snow removal crews do an absolutely wonderful job. I'd like to take their hands off. This last winter was different, and I saw them out there day and night, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day, because unfortunately snow doesn't pick a specific day. They did a great job. Can we do better? Absolutely. But we will do the best job we can, and we have the best staff anywhere to do that kind of work. So when you see them, say thank you.
In the spring of 2012, I spoke to council about continuing the Welcome program. A motion was made at that time to review this program. However, you, Mr. Farquhar, you were not willing to support this motion. A few months later, the Standard reported that a 2% raise was given to the most well-paid employees of the city. Why should we vote for you as our new mayor when you have complete disregard for the needs and well-being of a large percentage of our population?
I'm sorry, Irene, before you go from the mic, could you identify that program again?
That's
the microphone, or the speakers are pointing away and I'm getting an echo back.
Okay, it was the Welcome program, which was providing bus transportation for the low-income people.
Yes.
I was in council on that one.
Yes, you were, and I remember it well. I do recall it. And that was an accident. I did not mean to say that. The reason that I voted against that program was because I was convinced at the time that the program that was being introduced was going to work and be better. As it turned out, it wasn't, and I agree with you. But based on the information I had at that meeting which you were at, that's the position I took because that's the information that I had.
My name is Alan Golden. I'm a new arrival here in Elliot Lake. My wife and I moved here just in August. And we came here with our hopes and dreams for a good retirement. Looking forward to it. Love Elliot Lake. We're originally from Sudbury. I know the north. My question's for Dan. I've been listening since I got here at the bus stops, because my wife had the van in Ottawa. And I heard a lot of conversations at Tim Horton, and I'm hearing the same tonight. The question is jobs. Lots of jobs. That's how we're going to maintain Elliot Lake. I'm also hearing that one of the problems is laws. People are mentioning bylaws. I used to be a fire inspector, and I know bylaws can be changed, added, amended. How quickly will you jump on these problems, the laws that are slowing up jobs?
A lot of the bylaws in Elliot Lake are pretty prehistoric in my opinion. As the economy has changed in Canada, we need to relook at a lot of our bylaws, specifically zoning bylaws, that hinder businesses. So my opinion is this is something that has to be jumped on pretty quickly to help local businesses expand, to to help new entrepreneurs be able to start businesses from home or develop. So it is a priority because it's the local businesses that are creating the jobs we have right now. To bring in industry, whether it's large or small, will take a bit more time. Right now we have to depend on our local retailers to provide the jobs. So this is very, very key and very important.
Good evening. My name is Uwe Resilius. I'm running for council. My question would be for Dan. If you do and when you get elected as mayor, will you not take over the city council or will you do the bidding of the councilors which were elected by the people to speak for them?
All goes back to leadership. Being the head of council, being mayor, it's not your job to dictate. Your job is to actually listen to the other 6 members, listen to all the points of interest, listen to the arguments, try not let the arguments get too heated, but you need to take it all in and then be able to use everybody's points, whether they're positive or negative, to come up with reason and rationale and work with your council. The job is not to sit up there and dictate what you believe. At times you need to add what you believe in there because the mayor is no different than the rest of council other than holding the talking stick. To keep control of council and to keep us working as a team.
My name is George Hove, and this question is for Tom Farquhar. I'd like to preface my question by the point that I think the best decision made in the past council meetings were when they decided that Mississauga Park would stay open. But I am disappointed by the fact that has not been brought up at this meeting tonight by any of the members there, the councillors or the mayors. My question is, how do you see the park fitting? Tom, this is for you. So, how do you see the park fitting into future economic development plans of Elliot Lake?
Thank you very much. You raise a very valid point. Mississauga Park was a success. How it came about was even more of a success. There was a committee working on that for 8 months or so, and it was finally turned over to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, who appointed a subcommittee of 3 people, and within a month and a half, they not only had a deal made with the provincial government, they had the park open. We were fortunate enough to have the proper people to run the park. We were fortunate enough to have the volunteers come forward to do it. And it has been a success, and it's continuing to be a success. And I think it can be one of the building stones to move the community forward. And I would be really remiss, and I don't know if she's here tonight, but one of the people that made this happen from the ground up and is the driving force behind it was Sarah Daigle. And Sarah, you have my deep appreciation, whether you're here or not. So thank you very much for the question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Beverly Value. My question is for Rick Hamilton. In your pamphlet, you said we need a new hospital. What's wrong with our present hospital, and why should we put out money for a new one?
I thank you very much for the question, and it's an important one for everybody here in Elliot Lake. We have one of the oldest structural hospitals anywhere in Northern Ontario, and arguably Ontario. And it's been brought to our attention by many people, including the CEO of the hospital, that to make this hospital work better, we need a new one to have it more efficient. And it means nothing. The staff are wonderful. We need to keep the services. We need to keep the OB. We need to keep the surgical unit and all of that stuff. But what we need to do is we need to get on the list. And in my pamphlet, I made it very simple. The vast majority of the money will come from the government. However, we need to step up to the plate too. And if we had to pick any project in Elliot Lake that needed our help, this is the one that I think needs to be there. It will dovetail with our long-term care strategy. It will be modern, it will be new. And I believe it's high time we did it. Thank you.
is for Dan Bartusillo. Last year, this council introduced a dump fee bylaw. As predicted, this resulted in illegally dumping of garbage in the bush, scraping a growing unsightly mess or used to enjoy the beauty of nature. Now, just recently, this council made things even worse when they installed an inefficient weighing system, further antagonizing taxpayers and adding to the growing garbage mess. The question is, once elected as mayor, what will you do to stop this pollution of our pristine forest that we used to brag about?
I enjoy the outdoors as much as most people in Elliot Lake. I spend a lot of time on the trails, whether it's skidoo, four-wheeler, hiking, and I have been bringing home a lot of garbage myself that I take to the dump. This is a major issue. There's a lot of other communities that are doing different things. They have different landfill policies and practices, and there's nothing wrong, again, with looking at how other communities do things successfully without choking the public. The dumping fees we have now are ridiculous. If we were to set up a new type of landfill system that pays more attention to recycling, whether it be reclaim of old furniture and other things like this, it stays out of the landfill. If we set up another system that has recycling for plastic, for your metals, that actually leave the town on a regular basis, there's no need to weigh all the garbage. If we can keep most of it out of the landfill, then we don't need to be charging this. I've lived in quite a few other communities and I've never seen anything like this. Again, it's prehistoric the way it's run. You look at places like Petawawa, Pember, Deep River, Chalk River, the way their dumps are run, they charge construction tipping fees $10, and they make the construction workers actually take out some of the wood if it's still usable, and they put it aside for community projects like community gardens to save the city money. They don't charge anyone in the city to dump. It's not required.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jackie Hall, and this question, sorry Dan, I'm going to make a jump up now. No, Dan. Sorry. What I want to ask you basically, you've answered a little bit of the question in talking about the dump, but I'm wondering, I've heard you speak a lot about green industry and how it can benefit different communities, and I'm sure it can benefit Elliot Lake as well. Could you sort of explain a little bit more about what you mean by green industry?
Thank you. About 4 years ago, I went to an industrial expo that was held in Ottawa. I wasn't there for the industrial expo part. I was there for business purposes, to listen to the Dragon's Den crew and Donald Trump. But I stuck around. The only growing industry in Canada and North America right now is green energy. And there's many, many initiatives, and the government has promised to help fund initiatives. Anything from biofuel, recycling plastics, solar panels, and there's a whole new generation of solar panels, nothing like we've ever seen before, that are expanding the market. Windmills, LED lights, these are all considered green industry. And I'd like to go to these expos and market the city properly for the potential we have as far as land, the costs. We have an airport, we're 2 hours to export to the United States. It's a lot cheaper for them to develop in a city like Elliot Lake than it is to develop in a metro area. This was a concern that was brought by them, not by me. So Elliot Lake has the potential to grow. And whether we can bring in 10 industries that create 10 jobs each, or one industry that creates 100 jobs, I don't care. Jobs are jobs, and we need to bring them here.
Right on.
Good evening. My name is Carol Rott, and I'm a realtor with Rona Page. My question is for Al Collette. And I would also like to thank all the candidates that have allowed their names to stand. Thank you very much. I understand, Mr. Collette, that you're on the Accessibility Committee. I'm
That's correct.
very concerned as a realtor. When I look at the accommodation that we have available to every citizen here in Elliot Lake, and there are so few that have an elevator. We have places like Pine, Washington, Warsaw. What else is there? You look at Freedom, Mississauga, Capitol Place. Everywhere around town, there's stairs. These people cannot manage. Doesn't matter whether they're senior or not. There's knee problems, hip problems, and so on. What are we going to do about this? What can your committee do to help with this accommodation epidemic that we're about to have? Because some of these people that are getting older and older, and even the younger ones, where are they going to go?
Thank you, Carol. I would like to address that. I am chair of the Accessibility Committee here in Elliot Lake. There is provincial legislation that in the year 2025, there shall be no barriers to people with disabilities. We have our committee, the Disability Committee, has conducted audits of a number of our municipal buildings. We have identified issues over and over again, and that's fell on deaf ears, unfortunately. Council has not been efficient in conducting the needs of the disabilities in town. One area that appalls me, we had two businesses in this community, an existing business and a new business, that wanted to put in a handicap ramp to make it accessible. This city's bylaws charge that person to lease the sidewalk. That is totally unacceptable. Totally. We have to move forward with these people that have disabilities. We are an aging population. We have to comply with the law. And let me add this. By the year 2025, if you are not in compliance with the law, you will be fined $50,000 per day for non-compliance. We have to start doing this. Thank you.
My name once again is Kate Lakustra. Question for Al Collette. When elected, what will you do to encourage the council to improve the bus system? Right now, they stop early, and on Sundays we discriminate against non-drivers from going shopping or going to church.
Absolutely. I think what we have to do is have a proactive approach and listen to our citizens and find an acceptable answer to this. As you all know, if we increase the bus hours, it's going to cost dollars. We have to sit down and communicate with our seniors or our citizens and find out how we can do an acceptable measure of these buses. Do we extend our hours? It's going to cost, let's say, money again. Let's work together and find an acceptable answer to it.
My name is Derek Elliot. I live in Elliot Lake for 35 years, and I'd like to have an official update for you, Rick, on the Pearson Plaza. What's going on with that? Because I got up in Canadian Tire Sunday, and I see the equipment pulling out on the floor. So I hope they're not over. We was told last winter that the company supposed to build footland doesn't work in the winter. From what I can see, they don't work in the summer either.
Thank you for your question here. It's always interesting to have a question from you. Pierre's been here for 35 years and he's got a lot of experience with Elliot Lake. Pearson Plaza, we went out for an RFP, and that's a request for proposal to actually build a new shopping center. That has slowed down. But as I said in my speech today, we've spoken to the developer today through our Chief Administrative Officer and through Mr. William Elliot. And the reason now being given from the developer is this cash flow problem. And what he has said to us is clear as a bell to me. The lease agreements, they have to be extended for all the different tenants in there, including your library, which the people in Elliot Lake wanted in that mall, as well as your Bellaroma Health Unit. As of today, those lease extensions have not been signed. What that causes is a problem for the developer, because he can no longer go to the bank to get the money he needs to pull this off. So I say to the people on the library board, and I say to those on the Bellaroma Health Unit board, get those leases signed so we can get the money to that guy so we can get this mall built quickly. Enough is enough. We need to get this done.
Okay, it's actually 2 minutes to 9, so we've got 4 questions on the floor, and that's it.
My name is Dan McCambridge. I have a question for Tom Farquhar. As in the case of Pierre, another serious concern that's been mentioned many times this evening is the development of the lake lots. And also, in support of what Pierre's saying, is there seems to be a lack of transparency. We're not hearing anything whatsoever about what's going on. It's such a serious matter that most of the candidates have mentioned it, as part of their flagship mandates. Yet nothing is being told to any of the citizens of Elliot Lake about what's happened. The question to you, Mr. Farquhar, is what, in your opinion, has been stalling the process, and what do you intend to do about it?
Well, stalling the process at all, I can say very emphatically, was not the problem of the library board or the problem of the council. I want to be very clear about that. At the library board meeting, when the developer himself was asked by Councillor Collette, if the library decides to stay in White Mountain, will it delay the development of the mall? His answer was no, it will not. So whatever information may be out there pointing the finger of blame there doesn't wash. I believe the delay in the mall is a multitude of, I'm trying to be polite, a multitude of errors. Not only on the developer's part, possibly on how we handle it, but I don't really think so. When they asked us to have the site prepared to a certain level at a certain date, it was done. Once the site was sold, we don't have control of it anymore. The biggest, I'm sorry, that was that one in the cottage lots?
We appreciate knowing about what happened with the library as well. My question was particularly focused on the lake lot developments.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm one of many people that feel that process also is stalled. Supporting, I guess, what we're hearing here is that there's many processes stalled right now. Lake lot development.
No, they've come on.
Did they cut me off too? So I can't answer that, Gil? Oh, we're done, I'm sorry. I'll talk to you after with the cottage.
No, but shouldn't my question be answered?
Answer the question.
I'd like my question answered.
Answer the question. Question, Dan will answer.
Another secret.
Don't recall.
Hi, my name is Kate Golden. I have a question for Mayor Hamilton. Hi, Mayor. I've heard acting Hortons, a lot of talk about people who leave Elliot Lake to go to Sudbury, Espanola, and the Sioux to do some shopping. So do you have a number in terms of dollars as to how much money Elliot Lake loses by all of us leaving Elliot Lake and going elsewhere? And wouldn't that money be a value-added benefit to getting that mall and other businesses up and running, and council actually showing some initiative? Like, I can call 3 businesses tomorrow and probably have some up here. I mean, I'll help.
Thank you very much for the question. That's a valid question I'm hearing when I'm going to the doors. The biggest issue with this election, from what I see, is when are we going to get our shopping complex, and when are we going to get a department store? What I say to you, that will happen. The developers made it very clear. Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, we had a gentleman show up with $15 to $20 million of private sector investment to come to Elliot Lake to develop that site. He is still committed to do that. And just addressing Councillor Farquhar, if he checks his email today, he'll see that our CAO wrote to the entire council informing them of what I'm telling you right now. That developer is committed to do that. He needs the cash, he needs the capital to do it. We need to move forward. What he needs to do, and what we need to do is make sure those leases are signed so that he can get the capital he needs to get it done. And it will get done. I share your frustration. I want that been done 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, 3 years ago, but it's going to get done. We need to get that done. Our future depends on making sure the shopping center is done. We have a department store. As mayor, I will commit to do that and make sure that is the top priority, as it says in my motion.
Am I on? Yeah, I am. Before I ask my question, I would really, I'm considered to the old timers that have lived here a long time to be a newbie. But I've been here 15 years, and every time it comes to election time, give me something nice, folks, I always see so many people running. This warms my heart. It's because we all love Elliot Lake, and they are willing to put the time and the effort into it. So thank you all for running. Sorry, I need my glasses. This question is for Dan, please. What type of industry would be interested in Elliot Lake, and what does Elliot Lake have to offer these industries?
Elliot Lake has a lot of space, a lot of land, industrial areas that are already cleared and ready to go. We are a lot cheaper to develop here in Northern Ontario than it is to develop in Southern Ontario. And again, the largest industry growing in North America right now is green energy industry. So there's a multitude of different aspects. Canada has set out, along with any other country that's part of the United Nations, to clean the air and head towards green energy. In Europe right now, most countries are sitting at between 50 to 99% clean energy. Canada is at 3%. So a little bit of mud in our faces over here. So we need to push the government to help continue forward with green energy. Elliot Lake can find a place in that because we have everything it takes. We have a demographic, we have the population. 30 kilometers up the highway is nothing in comparison to what they're paying to create industries in Southern Ontario. We have an airport that needs a little bit of work, but we have an airport. We're 2 hours from the American border. We're set up for export. We need to market this in the right direction. Thank you.
My name is Elliot Tenbrook. This is a question for Mr. Hamilton. I'm a member of the library board, and I believe the question you asked, or I'm asking, is that we are being accused by Mr. Cowan of not returning a re-signed lease. If that is the case, I would like to remind Mr. McCallum, through you, that the lease that we are to sign was arrived yesterday.
Senator, thank you very much for the question. Thank you for your service on the library board, Mr. Denmark. I think it's important that we have these kinds of discussions. What we received today from our CAO was a direct quote from the developer. He needs access to capital, regardless of when that came to be. There was no accusation made there, nor was there one intended. But we still need to know what the information is. And that's the question we keep asking. What information do you have? Today we learned a lease agreement needs to be signed so that we can get that mall moving. So thank you. Please sign it tomorrow. Get it back to Mr. McCowan so we can get our mall. Thank you.
My name is Jane Savage. This question is for Mr. Marchesella. That's how you pronounce it, correct? You mentioned in your speech that all our bylaws are prehistoric. I was wondering if you could at least pick out 3 that you think should be changed.
The first and biggest, in my opinion, is procedural bylaw. The procedural bylaw right now gives nobody the chance to speak. I'd like to make that the councillors are seated at 6:30, 7 o'clock, there's a roll call done, and then you have your opportunity to come in while seated and openly ask any questions, voice any concerns, give any advice during the time allotted. Currently, right now, in order to do that, you have to make an appointment. You're electing us to make an appointment. Doesn't make any sense to me. I've been waiting 2 years to get to ask a question. I just found out that I had to make an appointment last week. Next, zoning bylaws. It's mainly zoning bylaws that I'd like to look at to help some of the entrepreneurs in Elliot Lake to be able to more easily start businesses, whether it be out of their home, out of their garage, to be able to work into making enough money to actually start leasing and renting and getting out there. As for a third, these are just the 2 that I'm mainly dedicated to at the moment. But I'd like to look at more. I'm thinking, zoning bylaws is the main thing. Procedural bylaws and bylaws.
Hi, my name is Vince Ucci, and I work for a website called ElliotLaker.com. And first of all, I want to thank all the candidates and everybody that came tonight, because this is what makes me proud to be an Elliot Laker. My question's for Mayor Hamilton. It is, how would you rate your performance over the last 4 years, and if you could do anything differently, would you?
Thank you, Mr. Ucci, for the question. And it's not a matter of rating performance, it's a matter of putting in the time and making things work. I got to tell you, it's been a very challenging 4 years, Mr. Ucci, as you're well aware. All the citizens of Elliot Lake shared in all of the different ebbs and tides we had in our community, including the tragedy. But I'd like to think that moving forward, we did a wonderful job trying to bring our community back together as best we can. And I attribute that to each and every one of you, including you, Mr. Ucci. I know you spent a lot of time working with the young people to make sure that they were taken care of, working with all of the different groups and organizations to make sure that this city not only healed, but we could be proud of. And I'll say, my performance is your performance. You did a wonderful job, and in council, my performance followed that along. So thank you very much for your question.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the co-sponsors for this particular event. I think that the Assembly was outstanding this evening. We'd like to thank Algoma District School Board, who waived the rental fees for the hall. We'd like to thank the Elliot Lake Wrestling Club for setting up the chairs. We'd like to thank the City of Elliot Lake for providing the chairs that you're sitting on. We'd most especially like to thank yourselves